All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Creating an Engaging Online Learning Environment. My name is Deshire Jackson, and I work for Instructure, which is the parent company of Canvas. And our session today, we're going to cover a couple different things. We're going to talk about um, what is authentic engagement, kind of define that. Then we'll talk about how that ties into universal design for learning, it's specifically the engagement principles. And then we'll talk about engaging course design, the 3 different engagement categories, and give in some examples about how you can implement and use these things inside of Canvas. As we go through the session, I will pause because we will have some time for you all to kind of participate. But if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat and I'll make sure that I'm monitoring them. And since we have a small group, when we do have those kind of hands-on activities, then I will allow you to feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat to participate. So let's get us started. So the first thing we want to talk about is what is authentic engagement. So an authentic engagement is really when students or learners have strong satisfaction with their learning experiences. And when they have like a strong satisfaction, that leads to stronger achievement and increased graduation rates. And so engagement strategies are very effective when they're based on learning theories that stress active learning, right? We want to make sure that we're not just telling our students something, that they just learned something. We want to make sure that they're actually doing something, that they can actually articulate or demonstrate what they've learned inside of our courses. And so if you think about maybe one of your favorite courses that you've ever taken, whether it was face-to-face or online, or if it was just like a PD session, think about why you really like that and keep that in the back of your mind, because that's going to come up in just a moment when we do our first hands-on activity. So when we talk about engagement, we really want to take a look at Universal Design for Learning and look at its engagement guidelines. So there's 3 different guidelines that go under the engagement, and one of them is recruiting interest. Then we have sustaining effort and persistence and self-regulation. So when we think about these 3 different kind of guidelines, the first thing is making sure that we spark excitement and curiosity for our learners, right? That they enjoy coming to our courses. They enjoy learning about the subject matter, no matter what it is. It can be anything from math, engineering to floral design, whatever you're teaching, you want to spark that curiosity. And the next thing is making sure that we allow them to tackle challenges and focus with determination, that we're giving them the ability to dive deeper and think more critically about what we're offering. And the last one with self-regulation is making sure that they have kind of the power and the motivation to determine how they're going to learn and when and how they're going to take in that material. So for our first activity, feel free to unmute yourself or pop your answer in the chat. How would you define engagement? You know, think about, what does authentic engagement look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And so I asked you to think about maybe one of your favorite courses or trainings that you've taken in the past. What made those things so engaging? What were the things that your instructors did? So I'll pause just to see if there's any answers or thoughts. Okay, good one, Marianne. Students are me willing down to put down my phone and pay attention. Dialogue activity connecting between both the students and instructor. Good. Awesome. For me, one thing I like is I like projects. Like, yes, we can take a quiz. Yes, we can take a test, but I love projects that allow me to actually show what I've learned in class, or at least put it into practice so I can understand, how am I going to use this in the real world? Okay, high degree of attention and ownership to students' own work. Great. Awesome. These are some great examples. These are some great answers. Students are involved in the creation of knowledge, just not passive receivers of info. Exactly. And we all learn differently. And so it is a challenge to tackle all of that, but I definitely know that it is possible. Yeah, hands-on. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is course design. Now, when we talk about visual course design, we're not talking about making your course pretty, right? That is an important element, right? To make it kind of have a nice design element. But what we're talking about is making sure your course is consistent and that it's organized. And those are things that help with engagement. If you have ever logged into a website or even a Canvas course where there's no set organization and you have to click around a bunch of places, that becomes a distraction to a learner and you're less likely to be engaged with that course, right? Because it's hard for you to figure out where things are. It's hard for you to understand the expectations. And so you're less likely to kind of have the same level of engagement with that course versus one that is really consistent, really organized, has clear expectations. And another thing about visual course design is it really helps enhance the learner's satisfaction by thinking about that usability, the ease of use, easy ways for students to figure out when assignments are due or find lesson content. How can they easily contact you or connect with your peers? Those are all things that come into play when we talk about visual course design. And yeah, Janice, that's a great one. Working in groups, discussion, breakout rooms, exactly. Working in different ways also helps with engagement. So one of the tools that we've built at Canvas is called the course evaluation checklist. And you may have seen this before, but basically it takes a look at the elements in Canvas, and we've laid out a checklist to ensure consistency across your courses. We have a mobile version and a desktop version because, as we know, students and even ourselves may be using our phones to quickly check things in Canvas, like announcements or seeing feedback from an assignment that has been graded or just viewing a grade. And so we want to make sure that no matter what device or the screen size a student is using, that they have a consistent experience with our courses. And so with the evaluation checklist, there are a couple different things on here. So the first thing is going to be the foundational items. So those are the 10 items that Canvas sees that are really important for you to have in your course. So having a clear homepage, having clear, and modified course navigation. So instead of showing all of the items when a student logs into a course, making sure they only see the things in the navigation that they need to see, right? Home, announcements, grades, and modules are typically the things that we recommend. And if you have any specific links like to outside tools or sources that make sense for your course, then you can add those in as well. But those are the foundational things that we recommend having as part of your course navigation. Then also making sure that you have key learning information available. So that'd be something like your objectives, right? One of the recommendations we make is to have maybe a page at the beginning of each module that outlines what those learning objectives are, what the expectations are for that module, and it depends on how your modules are set up. It could be week, month, or by unit or chapter, but putting in a kind of a expectations page at the beginning. Then also thinking about contact information. How can they contact you? What is your preferred contact? Do you want the Canvas inbox? Do you want them to send you an email? Do you have office hours? If so, how do they sign up and when are they? And are they in person? Are they virtual? Different information like that. So it dives deep into more things, but the 10 foundational things are where I would say start. Let me open this up for you, and I'm going to pop this into the chat as well, so you can get your own copy of it. So you can definitely copy this and download it and print it out, or you can make your own copy and edit it as you need. But you'll see those foundational items, right? Those 1-star things. Then we also have some items that are more best practice or exemplary. Start with the 10 foundational items first to make sure your course has those, and then you can move on to maybe the more intermediate or advanced recommendations. We also have the mobile version of this checklist. And a lot of the things on the mobile version of the checklist are going to be somewhat similar. Like you'll see chunking content, right here, which we'll talk about in just a moment with modules. But it's really just reinforcing some of the things on that main course evaluation checklist to make sure if a student decides to connect to Canvas using the mobile app, or if they use a mobile browser, that they still have the same access and they still have kind of the same experience with finding and interacting with the content in your course. So I'm going to pause there just to see, are there any questions about either this mobile checklist or this course evaluation checklist? Okay. So let's talk about one really big important thing with course design, and it's going to be modules. So if you are new to Canvas, you've probably heard modules a lot. And the reason for that is because modules are really kind of the center of kind of the course design for Canvas, because modules help you structure out the flow of your course. So one of the ways that we like to visually think about modules is think about a module as a binder. And inside of that binder, you're going to put everything that the student needs to work on. So assignments, quizzes, if you have pages with lesson content, all of that would need to be included in the module. And you can set up your module structure in a number of different ways. It could be weekly, it could be by unit, chapter, it could be by topic. Just make sure whenever you're creating your modules that you're adding in absolutely everything a student needs to complete, and that you're structuring in a way that's easy for students to kind of move through the pieces. So I have an example for you. There's two examples on this page. The first one is just a module, and it's adding in everything, just a long list of items. And the second one is also a module, but you'll see this is broken up by unit. And then you'll see that there are different kind of indents. There's also some visual things there with emojis that have been added. We have something called text headers here, which are ways to kind of break up the information that you put into a module. So looking at these two, which do you prefer and why? Do you prefer module or example 1 or example 2? And why did you pick one of those over the other? And I'll give you a couple minutes to pop that in the chat. Example 2. Okay, perfect. Okay, so it looks like example 2, more visual guidance is grouped clearly. And just to get a temperature check on everyone here, do we all have a good understanding of how to create a module and how to add in the content? Okay, perfect. Wonderful, wonderful. So for this, okay, example 1 clicks for my brain, but I can see the appeal of example 2. Exactly, and we're all different learners, Marian, so that totally makes sense. Perfect, okay, you too. So depending on your learners, right, we're all gonna have different preferences. I think for me, I wouldn't pick either one of them. I think example 1 has a lot of content that's hard for me to chunk up, but then example 2, it's a lot of different emojis and colors. It's a little bit distracting to me. So I think for me, I would like something that maybe if they took off these icons here and just left the text headers with the colors, that for me, it would be what I would recommend, or I would prefer. And so if you are interested in adding visual elements into your modules, like this color coding or these different kind of images, these are just emojis. You can use a tool called Emojipedia. If you have like a Mac with a keyboard, you can pull emojis from there. I think on Windows, you do the Windows key and space. Don't hold me to that, Google it, but you can definitely add in these visual elements as well. And if you want to just stick to, the text, then add in text headers. Text headers are like these unit 2 things. They're non-clickable elements, they're not contents, but they just break up and chunk it up a little bit. And so if you think about this on a computer, this is fine because you have a larger screen to scroll through. On a cell phone or a mobile device like a tablet, this might be a little bit harder to go through. But I do like on this one that they have at least used the indent function. So if you walk away from anything today, if you want to look at your modules, Maybe try adding text headers if you haven't, or you are happy, or you can add in indentations as well. I'm going to pause to see, are there any questions about modules, or are we good to go? And so with this, the reason why we bring this up with course design and engagement is because this could be a barrier for your students. So we want to make sure from a visual course design perspective that it is something that is consistent and clear, and there's ease of use. Sure. To the module over this one, Marianne? Okay. Awesome. And with the recording, I'll also be providing some resources. So if there's anything here that you see that you want a resource of, then just let me know. I can provide that as well. All right. And Marianne, did you get what you needed from this slide? Were you taking a quick screen grab of this? Okay, perfect. So let's go through. Let's also look at our course navigation. So course navigation is really important. So here we have two different examples. So again, the question is, which one, if you logged into Canvas as a student, would you prefer? 1 or 2? Okay, so 2. Okay, definitely 2, though I'm guilty of example 1. Okay, and then I see some people prefer number 1. Okay. And here's the thing. I think we recommend number 2, but with number 1, if you notice, there are a number of things on here that are maybe some third-party tools, or maybe this instructor wanted the syllabus to stand out by itself. They could absolutely add it in. But a lot of these things like quizzes, assignments, pages, and all of that can be put into your module, right? So you can put those in there and you can put them in the order that students would complete them in. Once again, this is really helping kind of eliminate distractions from your students. And this also will help with engagement because they will know what to log in and they know exactly where they need to go to find the particular content. And so small things like the module structure, your course navigation, and even kind of the structure of how you add in your content to your course are important pieces of creating an engaging learning environment, especially if your course is asynchronous. It's not going to have, their students are not going to have the same interaction with you to ask questions in real time like they would if you were face-to-face or if you had like a Zoom session. So this will also help kind of alleviate some of those students who wait because they're confused or overwhelmed with just getting into your course and finding the proper content. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about the different connection or interactions for students. So the first one is going to be the teacher to student interaction. And so with the teacher to student interaction, we really want to focus on the teacher presence or the instructor presence. So on this example here, this instructor, obviously this is more of a high school example, but you could definitely do this as well in higher ed, has a video of themselves, right? Just to introduce themselves. And why that's important, especially in an online learning environment, is you want to humanize yourself, right? You don't want to just be the instructor ABC. You want your students to have a connection with you and put that together. So you could do a video like this on your homepage. One thing I've done in previous courses that I've taught is do a discussion board. And that's kind of like the first thing we do for like the first week of school. And I'll have a video of myself, just introducing myself, obviously talking about the academic side, but you could throw in some something that's unique or fun, that's something that you would like to do that's a little bit more personal and that helps create that connection between the teacher and student. Because if you say, oh, I really like playing guitar, if you have students who like playing guitar, that's your connection with them. And they're more likely to love coming into your class because they know that about you. That's one thing. And then what I do with that discussion board is I'll make that initial post and have my students reply with their own video. So something similar like that. If you're not comfortable with doing video just yet, then you could do this with just a picture of yourself and a little brief summary of who you are, as an introduction, and have your students reply that way as well. Reply using a discussion board to introduce themselves. So we're going to skip over that. Other things that you can do for student to teacher interaction is by using announcements. Announcements are a really great tool if you want to send a quick message to your students about maybe a recap of what you discussed last week, or give them some insight of, okay, this week, this is what we're covering. We have an exam this week, we have a project due, setting up expectations. That is a way that you can use announcements. And what's great about announcements is as soon as you post it, your students get a notification. If they're using the mobile app, it'll come up just like a notification from any other application will, and pop up on their phone. So it's like a real-time kind of communication thing. And so when you set up announcements, you also have the ability to add the most recent announcements to the top of your homepage. So I have an example course with that in there, just to show you really quickly. So if you go into your course settings, you can have your most recent announcements show up at the top. So it could be your most recent one or your most recent 3. So when students log into your course, they will see those recent announcements there as well, if they've ignored that notification or they skipped over it, or if it's just a reminder. And so I really love using announcements for that way. You also have the ability to schedule out announcements. So whenever you create an announcement, let's just say, it's going to be something you're going to do every week, and you want to go ahead and get these scheduled out for the semester, go ahead, fill it out. And then down here under options, you can do delay posting and choose the date and time which you want that to be sent out to your students or posted. And so that's a tool that I used a lot, and I think it's great because announcements allow your students to know, yes, we have the syllabus and the course calendar, but I'm also giving you a reminder and communicating out things with you that are important for you to know immediately. Students have multiple courses and they have life and things happening. So I think announcements really help kind of reset the expectations or reset the goals for, if it's for the week or for that particular day or class meeting, then that's a tool to use. Okay. Another tool is the Canvas inbox. The Canvas inbox really serves as similar to email. It's a way for you to communicate with your students in a quick and easy way inside of Canvas. If you haven't used the inbox tool does connect to whatever your email is for Canvas, is probably your institution email. So if someone sends you a message via the inbox, you will get a copy of that in like your Outlook or your Gmail, whatever system you use, probably Outlook. You can respond from your inbox to that Canvas inbox message, and they'll get it just in the same way. So that's a really great tool to leverage. And then all of that communication is super easy for you to find inside of Canvas, because the inbox allows you to search and filter down by your courses. You also can use a tool called Message Students Who, and you may have seen this. And if not, I'm going to show you where you can find it. But Message Students Who is in a couple places. It's in the gradebook as well as in New Analytics. And so it allows you to send quick messages to students based off of the criteria. So I'm going to just open up an example course real quick and show you from the gradebook how you can do it. So whenever you're in the gradebook, every single assignment or graded piece has its own column. And so what I can do is I'll click the 3 dots next to that particular assignment, and I'll do Message Students Who. And you'll see if I do the drop down, there's a number of different options of who, the grouping of students I want to pull up. So I can send a message to those who have not submitted this assignment yet, who have not been graded, and then if they scored more or less than. So let's just see with mine. I will do have not submitted yet. So 11 students haven't submitted. I can quickly, it does automatically put in a message there, but you can change it. And then you can put in details here. If you want to see a list of these students, you can click this and it'll show you all the students. So these are all of the students who have not submitted this assignment. What's great is I can send one message and it'll give all of these students their own individual message in the Canvas inbox. So they won't have any insight that I sent this to multiple students at once. And it's a quick thing for me to do. So you could do that, any of those 4 options. And then it's also available on New Analytics as well. And if you're interested in that, I believe we have some sessions on New Analytics coming up later. It's the course data for faculty session if you're interested in that. Any questions about using the inbox, announcements, message students who? Nope. Awesome. Perfect. The next thing we're going to talk about is and I see there is a question about one of the Google links I shared. I will reshare it to where you guys can open it without it having to download it. So I'll do it at the end. The next thing to take a look at is going to be the calendar inside of Canvas. I love the calendar tool because as soon as you create an assignment, discussion, quiz, anything, it automatically, as soon as you put a due date on it, it automatically adds that to the course calendar as well as the student's to-do list. And so that also helps with engagement, right? It helps with setting expectations. It helps students understand what's coming up. You can add due dates also to content pages. So if you have like a page, let's say you want them to review an article or watch a video or something ahead of your next class session, if you're meeting via Zoom or something like that. And this can apply if you have face-to-face courses as well. On pages, you have the ability, and I'm just going to click edit on this page. You'll see this option, add to student to-do list, and then you can choose the little calendar icon and put a due date on it. And so this will show up on the student's course calendar and on their to-do list. And this is really great for pieces that don't require students to turn anything in. You just want them to maybe read something, review a PowerPoint, watch a video, embed that content into a page, and then you can use this option to add to student to-do. And we actually have an update coming to Canvas. It will be available in November. Well, there'll be a third option for you to put a date of when you want a page to be published. So if you've seen on modules where you can put a date for when it unlocks and is available for students to use, there will also be an update coming where you can put a publish date on a page. So look out for that. I believe it's coming around November 19th. So if that's something you've been wanting, it's coming. Okay. So any questions about the to-do list, the calendar, or any thoughts about that? Awesome. And then also, if you are using the syllabus option inside of Canvas, it automatically also pulls those due dates onto that syllabus page as well. So it puts it there as well. So it's all kind of an automated thing. Can you add other items to the to-do list, or is it just pages? The assignments, graded discussions, and quizzes will automatically be added to the to-do list. If you want to add something like for your students, then you could go on your course calendar and just add an event. And that should show up on the student's calendar as well. Is there an option to send an announcement or message when creating a calendar item? No, that is going to be tied to the user's individual notification settings. You would have to do it separately. So if you added a calendar item, you could create an announcement, but if their notifications are set up, then it should, as soon as you send an announcement, they should be notified, or if a due date has been added or changed, it should be notified as well. So that is something you may want to walk your students through Or you could put together like a one pager for them just to say, make sure you have these notifications on. This is going to help you be successful. And as far as the notifications, it's the same way that you would do them. If you go to account and click notifications, that's where you can manage the notifications either for all courses that you're enrolled in, or you can do it on a course by course basis of when you're notified and how often. And Jessica, to your point, adding other items to the to-do list, it may come up, there's more updates and changes coming to Canvas. So it's possible something like that could become available, because I know you can add an event, but I don't think it shows up on their to-do list because there's nothing for them to no action item. Right. Other things to think about for engagement with that student to teacher interaction is through your feedback. So we have a number of ways that you can provide feedback in Canvas. These are examples using SpeedGrader. So if you attach a rubric to an assignment, you can, provide that targeted feedback to your students. You also have the ability inside of SpeedGrader to build up what's called a comment library. So your comment library is going to come blank, but you can go in and add in things that you're going to say pretty often, like great job, schedule some time with me, whatever it is that you're going to say pretty often, you could build that into your comment library. And then you also have the option, if you haven't seen these tools down here, one is to add an attachment. Some instructors prefer to download student submissions and use the markup tool and maybe Word. And then you can upload or attach that in SpeedGrader. You also have this option here to do video and audio feedback. And then this one right here is speech to text. So if you've ever used on your phone, the little microphone button you can put to dictate what you want to say, you can click this and it works the same way in Canvas. Let me quickly show you this here. Let me show you the comment library as well. This is probably one of my favorite. The comment library and the speech to text things are two things that as an instructor, I wish were there sooner for me, or that I knew about. So your comment library is going to be right there. Whenever you go in SpeedGrader, it'll probably say 0. And you can write whatever and you can add it in to your library. So when I click it, it automatically populates into this box. But what's great about the comment library is that it's attached to you as a user. So you only have to build it up once, and every Canvas course that you are a teacher in, you can use your comment library to pull things in. And then for this one right here, if you click record, you'll just start. Okay, well, there we go. You'll just start talking and it's going to dictate what you're saying. Once you're ready to stop, you'll click stop and it'll populate this into the box. And of course you can go through and make an edit because it's not going to be 100% accurate. It's a computer. Make the updates and changes and then click submit for that comment. So those are a number of ways to leave that specific feedback. And why it's important to use these tools is we don't want to give our students just an 80, right? Or a 95%. We want to give them more insight into what they really did well and what are some areas for opportunity. And that's how you create true engagement, because I want to know not just that I did well, I want to know what are some ways that I can improve. And so that way I'm not blindsided at the end of the semester when maybe for my final project, I was missing all these things that my instructor saw, but necessarily didn't let me know right from the beginning. So that'll help with that because it is a lot of work to leave, all that feedback. The next interaction is student to student interaction. And so one of the main things we always talk about is discussions. I still believe in discussions. I think there are different tools and different ways that you can approach using them to make sure that you get a better quality post and more engagement from your students. Obviously, discussions in Canvas typically have a higher, and I would say in a digital environment, have a higher engagement rate compared to the traditional, spoken classroom discussions. And the reason for that is that some people don't feel comfortable speaking out, but they are totally fine with maybe typing in their answer on a discussion board. Discussion boards give you the ability to track and provide your students with feedback. It supports all learners. There may be students who need additional time to process content. So maybe they can't quickly articulate their thoughts or opinions without an extended processing time. And that's okay. And it also helps extend the learning past that classroom time frame. And if you're in an online course, this is really the only time, especially if it's asynchronous, that your students get to collaborate with one another and talk to each other. So here's some kind of potential discussion boards uses, and these are just a couple of them. There's definitely more that are available. One could be a temperature check where you just kind of represent your week with emoji or hashtag. While that's important is because it takes away the element of just the course content. It shows the instructor is engaged and is thinking about how do you feel, what's going on. So those are different ways to do that through the temperature check. You could do a Q&A. It can be just a discussion board that's open. You as an instructor will work more as a moderator. So you'll let the students go back and forth and answer questions, and you'll step in if you need to, if you see that there's any misinformation or students are not using it in an appropriate way, then you can step in. But the Q&A would be used for all course related questions, and then that puts everything in one place instead of via email or inbox. And it's a great way to stop getting that same emails or the same questions over and over. Put it into that Q&A form. You can use discussions in a group capacity as well. So you can break your students up into micro groups and have them do discussions in that way. They could debate, they could just be, you already have discussion topics that you want your students to communicate on, instead of having 30 to 50 students all, posting that initial response and then responding to 2 other peers. You can break them into smaller groups of like 5, and then you may see a better quality discussion there. You also have can do what's called a module Q&A. This would be if you built in a discussion board in each of your modules where they can ask questions about that particular week, unit, or topic. It's very similar to that course Q&A idea, but it just chunks it up into smaller pieces so students don't have to go through and search and figure out or find what they're looking for. You also can use it for peer feedback. Discussion boards and Canvas do work with peer review, or you can use it as just normal discussion and have students respond to their peers directly inside of the discussion board. One thing that I think works really well with using discussions, especially with the student-to-student interaction, is having your students collaborate and create some norms. So what are our expectations? The expectation could be everyone needs to make their initial post by Wednesday. We know that this module closes on Saturday at 11:59. Can everyone make their initial post on Wednesday so that we have time to go and respond to 2 other individuals? So think about your course, how it's structured, and maybe have that conversation with your students at the beginning of the semester, because one thing that I've found with doing something like that is that they hold each other accountable, especially if they get to be a part of that kind of guideline process. They will hold each other accountable as well. Other ways is allowing students to determine how they're going to respond to a discussion post. Obviously, you can have your prompt and your details up there, but you can give them the choice of if they want to do normal text entry, or they could do video. You can give them that choice. And I think that that's definitely a game changer for students who maybe struggle with articulating how they want to formulate their words. It's easy for them to articulate it via, voice. What format does your norm setting discussion take place? Okay. I've done it 3 ways. One of my courses, we were face to face, so we just did it collaboratively, and we used like a Smartboard to write everything down. And I took that information and put it into a page. And that's where all that information lived. I had an asynchronous course, and that was our very first discussion board where everyone just commented and replied what they thought should be the norms. And based off of that, we voted by using liking on the different posts, and the things that got the most likes, that became our norms. So I think we voted for the top 5 things that we thought were important. And so the top 5 posts or replies with the most likes, those were our norms. Another thing you can use for that is collaborative pages. So in Canvas, you also have the ability to decide who can contribute to pages. And so one of the options would be creating a page that's just there for creating and discussing what the norms are, or whatever it is. It could be a wiki page where you want your students to put in articles or videos or links about a topic or unit that you're covering. So you'll create that page, and at the bottom, there's an option where it says who is basically allowed to edit this page. This video, or this option right here where it says teachers and students. And actually, let me just go into I don't like this screenshot very much. Let me just show you how to do it on a page. There we go. So if you click on edit, down here where it says users allowed to edit this page, if you click the drop down, by default, it'll be at only teachers. If you change it to teachers and students, it will only change it for this particular page, but this would allow your students to collaborate together on one page. And what's great about it is that you do have what's called kind of a page history. So if you click on here, you'll see page history, and you can see everyone who made changes. And let's just say if I need to take a look at this, I can see the previous version of a page and see who made that particular update or change. Okay, I see a couple questions. Do we have any instructional videos regarding how to use Canvas? I mean, we definitely do. I think that your internal team is also may have an answer for that. Sabrina or Adam, do you guys have any specific videos? If not, I'll show you. I'll put the link in the chat right now to the Canvas video guides. And are you asking for instructor? Well, actually, this has all of them. This is the entire video guide collection from Canvas. And so it has it for instructors, admins, and students. So you definitely could also share this with your students as well. Perfect.
Yeah, sorry, Deshira, just to jump in. I will share our faculty resources page that we have for Cal State Long Beach that details a lot of our faculty support pages and videos as well in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Other ways that you can also encourage student-to-student interaction is through groups. You can use groups in a number of ways in your course, and groups are basically allow you to put your students in smaller, chunks, and you can use groups on a number of different activities. So one of the ways you can use it is through group work. So whenever you set up an assignment, there's an option to say, this is a group assignment. And so if you do that option, then what you would be able to do is put your students into a small group. One person in that group turns in the assignment, and that submission counts everyone that's in their group. And you can decide, do you want everyone to get the same grade and feedback? Like it's going to be the same, so you only have to grade it once and it'll count for all of those students. Or you have the option to have one student turn it in and then give everyone in their group their own individual grade and feedback. So you've had that flexibility with that. Same with discussions. You can also do group discussions where it'll break up your students into smaller groups, and they will only see the responses from those that are in their particular group. And why I like group discussions so much is that from an instructor perspective, it's not going to be a lot of work from you. You still will create one discussion board. You'll just click the select box to say this is a group discussion, and you'll select what groups you want to be a part of this, and that's it. It doesn't take a ton of work for instructors to set up. You can also set up groups to do kind of academic things like small groups where our study groups. There's a variety of ways that you can use the grouping tool in Canvas. And we won't go into detail about that now, but if you're interested in that, then definitely take a look at some of the other workshops that are coming up. Okay. I'm going to pause because I know I just shared with a lot of content with you. Are there any student to student interaction features like that you would think you want to use? So it could be groups, discussions, the collaborative pages. Is there anything that stuck out to you that you think you're going to want to try out? And you don't, it may not be this semester, maybe next semester.
Hi, Deshira. This is Afifa. I'm one of the instructional designers. Actually, the interactive pages can be really useful. There are times that faculty are looking or asking how students can collaborate. I think the feature that can change the page to an interactive page that can be really useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's again, it's one of those things that's not going to require a ton of, it's not a learning curve for you as an instructor. It's very easy to turn on. Good. Jessica said she might use group discussions for an article review assignment. Yeah, that'd be very good. Is it going to be one article? Yep, that'll be good. All right, awesome. And if you're still new to Canvas and you're still just getting your feet wet, then I would say discussions is probably just starting with just normal discussions. What's graded with discussions, if you make them graded, when you go into SpeedGrader, you will see, like when you click on a student's name, you will see their initial posts and then all of the posts that they've responded to. So what their responses were. So it also, if you're thinking about kind of easing into that, then use a graded discussion. Perfect. Okay. The last thing that we're going to talk about is the student to content interaction. So getting our students engaged with the content, the things that we want them to learn. So one of the ways to do that is by offering your students choice. Whenever you set up assignments, if you use the submission type online, meaning they're going to use just a Canvas-based type assignment to turn things in, you have the ability to check any of these boxes or multiple of them to give them the option to do maybe a file upload or text entry or media recording. So you could select all three of those things. And when your student goes to submit the assignment, they can choose how they're going to turn in that particular content. And this is where rubrics really comes into play. So whether they're turning in a text-based thing or a video assignment, then they still will know what the expectations are, and they're still going to be meeting the same requirements. Also, leaving your submission attempts to unlimited. If you're brand new to Canvas, this may seem weird, and you may think, why would I do that? The reason for that is it is going to save you time. I promise you it's going to save you time, because there's always at least 1 or 2 students who upload the wrong thing, or they upload the wrong version, whatever it is. Leaving the submission attempts to unlimited allows students to go in and resubmit assignments without you having to do any work as an instructor. You will have a copy of each submission with a date and time stamp. So if students think they're being smart and getting around the system, they're not. You have all of the submissions available for you to review. And if you want to lock down your assignments on the available from and until date, if you put an until date, students won't be able to submit after that date. So if you want to lock that down. Now, of course, you can always say change your submission attempts to limited and decide the number, but I would say at least do always 2. If you're not gonna do unlimited, at least do 2, just in case a student messes up and turns in the wrong or file or something like that. Other ways that you can do this is through choice boards or playlist. Choice boards are where students can decide what content they're going to work on. So choice boards could be multiple articles that are related to your specific subject matter, or it could be a combination of articles plus videos plus a podcast. You can determine what this will look like based off of your particular course, but you'll give them a choice of what they, how they're going to receive the content, and then how they're going to respond to it. You also have the ability to embed things into your Canvas courses. So if you want to do engagement activities, Padlet is a really great free tool that embeds very easily into Canvas pages, and basically to allow you and your students to work together in real time to populate information into that Padlet or Wakelet. Jamboard is another good one. You can use playlist. So playlists are really great because they allow kind of an activity, right? You have your main topic, and then down below you have the different activities that students can do or challenges for them to get more of a personalized approach to the content. And so I'll provide that as a resource as well if you want to get more information about playlists. I would say playlists and choice boards are definitely one of those advanced things. So if you're still kind of at the foundation of understanding the basics of Canvas, I wouldn't tackle that just right now, but it's definitely something you could look into in the future. Other things are media recording. Students love to record themselves. I mean, we're living in a social media age, so giving them as many opportunities to provide media recordings as a means of submission, as well as a means of you communicating out with them. So when you create announcements, you could do your normal text-based announcement, but you can also put in a video of you saying what the announcements are. And if you're concerned about accessibility, then you can attach captions to it to make sure it's accessible for all of your learners as well. If you're going to be using videos in your course, just make sure you keep them short. So if it's going to be something that you provide for your students, like at the beginning of a module or as an announcement or something like that, just keep it short and make it, straight to the point to make sure that students don't drop off and get all the content that they need from you. And just the major takeaway from this is really, defining what engagement looks like for your course. We talked about a number of different examples, and of course, you don't have to tackle everything right now. You may want to take a look at that course evaluation checklist first to see, okay, am I meeting the foundational pieces? Or you may want to go back and modify your course navigation to make it more simplified. Or you may be ready to start using groups or graded discussions or those collaborative pages. I just want you to take it one day at a time and think about what is something easily that you could incorporate into your course and go forward and do that. So that is the end of our session today. I am going to stick around for a moment to get you that Google Doc link that you weren't able to open so you can download it. But if you have any questions or anything else, feel free to pop those in the chat or stick around. If not, then it was a pleasure seeing all of you, and hopefully I'll see you in some of our other sessions that we're offering. You're welcome. Let's see, let's download this. Wonderful. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'm going to put that document in the chat for you all.